Where do you have Ty Simpson ranked? He's your second guy, I'm guessing?
He is. He is because everybody talks about how every quarterback in this class comps to Brock Purdy. They comp to Brock Purdy. They comp to Brock Purdy. This guy actually does comp to Brock Purdy because he's probably the only quarterback in this class that, if you watch the film, I know he only has 1 year of experience as a starter, and that's the big thing that everybody has on him, right? He spent 3 years sitting and watching in that system behind better quarterbacks, but he learned his lessons well. He just needed to get some game experience underneath him, and he was operating that offense with perfect efficiency. He had all three reads and his check down covered with his eyes without moving his head. All by the time he was done with his 5-step drop, he could play under center, he could play shotgun, he could do whatever you need. Yeah, his mechanics are funky. I don't like his mechanics all that much. I think those could be cleaned up a slight, but his arm is freaking sick. I think he's had to adjust his mechanics because of his size in order to put the torque on the football needed to have his arm strength be as good as it actually is. Because as much as people talk about, I don't think he could fit balls in tight windows in the NFL. He's fit some balls in tight windows in college. Especially the first half of that season, he fit some balls in some very tight windows. And the thing that really gets me is after he was hurt, 8 touchdowns, 4 picks in the last half of that season. Instead of going completely bad and, throwing a lot of picks and maybe having touchdowns and interceptions be even, completing only 55% of your passes and becoming completely immobile. He actually doubled his touchdown to interception ratio, still completed 61% of his passes, and showed you that he had a little bit of grit. So even while playing hurt, he went from being good to great to average to good.
So let's talk about the second half and the tale of two halves for Ty Simpson. So first 8 games, 68% completion percentage, 8.4 yards per attempt, 20 touchdowns, 1 pick. That is sick. That is awesome. Second 8, obviously this is also harder competition. You don't have those couple cupcakes in there, but 60% completion, 6.5 yards per attempt, 8 to 4 touchdown interception. And he dealt with a back injury early in the year, then an elbow, and then a broken rib. So I know you love the grittiness of this kid, the fact that he played through it. He wanted to enhance and increase his draft stock, which ended up working against him. But I think you might see this as a positive.
I do, only because if he played through, and I didn't even know about the broken rib. I only knew about the other injuries. I didn't know about the broken rib. Thank you for telling me about that one. So I see it as a positive because, as broken and as busted up as he was, 8 TDs to 4 INTs with a 60% completion percentage, as broken as he was, that's not terrible. To be as injured as he was, to go out there and give performances like that versus, granted, against better competition as well. He should have been like, crap in the bed and being a 4th-round pick. Like Carson Beck should be the second best prospect right now, or Nussmeier, according to this list, should be number 2 right now, because Ty Simpson should have completely shit the bed, but he didn't. Especially considering all of those injuries.
I want to give you a couple more positives before you get to the rest of yours. And there are some negatives I'm going to throw out there in a second, because I'm not as high on Ty Simpson.
Oh, there's plenty of negatives.
So he was blitzed on 45% of his dropbacks, which is second most in the nation. And so he has in the limited experience 1 year, at least he has that experience, which is under duress. And a lot of times the issue with these Alabama quarterbacks in the past were the offensive line was elite, the running game was elite, and the weapons were elite, and they were never under pressure, right? I go back to Tua in particular, right? Like never under pressure, and it's hard to gauge these guys. So he actually didn't get the old school Alabama experience, which has led to a lot of failure from these Alabama quarterbacks. Unfortunately, though, 5.9 yards per attempt on those throws, which was 10th. It's not terrible, but at least he has the experience. And he had a lot of success on the screen games, and I'm going to credit that to Jeremy Bernard, who is a Deebo Samuel-esque player. Removing screens, 5.9 yards per attempt, which is 10th as well. So he did benefit a lot from that, and Jeremy Bernard is a monster. A couple positives though. Only 6.5% of his dropbacks were RPOs, so quite the opposite of Mendoza, and also had the most dropbacks under center. I know it was only 48, but compare that was in 1 year compared to the 6 Mendoza took in 3 years. So he is, he was running a pro system. He is more acclimated to that situation because in the NFL, you're not just going to line up in shotgun unless you're Kyler Murray or Michael Penix in the pistol. Like, I know you love that, Mouth. All the pistol there they were running in Atlanta. So there's a lot
and they're going to be running it in Philly too. They're going to be running it in Philly this year. Ain't it great? It's going to be great for me as a Giants fan. Gonna love it. J Bob's going to love it too. By the way, has anybody checked on J Bob since they hired Atlanta's former OC?
No, I have not heard from J Bob. He'll be back. He'll be back once the draft happens, and then all the Eagles fans are gracing us with their presence again. They tend to go in hibernation after
J Bob. It's okay. J Bob, it's okay. I know they hired. I promise you, they're not going to run as much pistol with Hurts and Saquon. They're not going to let it happen like that. I promise you. At least I hope to God.
I guess we'll see. A couple of concerns though, and I want to hear how concerned you are by this. He's going to be 24 in his rookie year, which is an older prospect. And I have a little graphic here of, a 1 year starter at that age, not ideal at all. There's a lot of red flags. There's a lot of examples, cautionary tales of that going wrong. So here's a list of guys that have had the top list are guys that have had less passing attempts than Ty Simpson in getting drafted in the NFL draft. Trey Lance, Cam Newton, Michael Vick, Anthony Richardson, Mark Sanchez, Kyler Murray. One thing all these guys have in common is they're extremely mobile, and their lack of passing volume was due to the fact they ran so much. And it's a decent list, but there's a lot of busts on this list. I mean, I'm not going to call Kyler a bust, but Mark Sanchez, I guess he was neutral. Trey Lance, but like these guys are such different players. But I'm going to go down to the second list of guys that are right around the same range. Mac Jones, Achilles Smith, former number 1 overall pick.
Oh, God.
Mitch Trubisky, Carson Wentz, Alex Smith, and Dwayne Haskins. So on this list of guys that I would say comp more to him, I would say the only hits on this list, the only hit is Alex Smith. Like Mac Jones, the verdict's still out, but he's been a bust. Let's be honest. He's been a bust. Haskins is dead.
Wentz did win an MVP.
No, he would have won an MVP if he was healthy. He didn't win it. He would have won an MVP if he stayed healthy.
No, he won that MVP, I thought.
No, he only played 12 games. No, he was a front runner. It seems like he won it because they ended up winning the Super Bowl with Nick Foles.
Yeah,
but he was a front runner. But Trubisky bust, Mac Jones, I'm going to have to list him as a bust as of now. Achilles Smith, biggest bust in the history.
And
Carson Wentz,
RIP.
injuries. And then RIP Dwayne Haskins, who's not even on this planet anymore. So that's the cautionary tale of, I think Anthony Richardson was the ideal.
So what you're telling me is his choice is okay. His choice is insane podcaster, guy who only had 15 stars combined high school or college. His future is to assault a truck driver, garden gnome, dog fighting and going to jail, Go-Gurt and milk. Who's Achilles Smith? Mitch Trubisky, Carson Wentz. I thought he won an MVP, didn't. Breaking your leg and death.
It's not great.
This is what this graphic is telling me that his so basically so here's how I'm going to turn this around, right? It could only go up for Ty Simpson from here.
And you make
it can only get better, right?
And Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. And he is, I want to say he's not as thick as Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has a really thick lower half, but he's a little taller than Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy's legit 5'11". And coming into the pros, I mean, look at draft capital alone. We're all projecting him to go mid-first round, maybe even higher. So he has a leg up there, but the leg down is as much as we like a couple of the landing spots. He's not going to be with Kyle Shanahan.
No.
And what would Brock Purdy be without Kyle Shanahan? If Brock Purdy went to the Dolphins or Jets, I don't think we'd be having this Brock Purdy comparison, this conversation about Brock Purdy. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He wouldn't.
You're right. Well, now the two places that you would think Ty Simpson is going to end up is either the Cardinals or the Jets, right? Normally, you're thinking, right? If he ends up with the
You love the
Cardinals,
Jets situation.
He ends up with Mike LaFleur, right? Everybody thinks, oh, this is Matt LaFleur's brother. This is great, wonderful. This is the same Mike LaFleur that was Rex Ryan's offensive coordinator when Mark Sanchez, who was on that lovely little list, was the quarterback of the Jets, and then followed by Geno Smith, whose last game as a New York Jet was him running the ball 20 some odd times. That was Mike LaFleur. But the Jets situation actually has Frank Reich as the offensive coordinator. So that's actually not bad.
I gotta correct myself. Apparently, Purdy measured as 6.5, so he's 6.5. So I guess they're the same size. Ty Simpson 6'1". My bad. He just looks smaller, Dakota. I'm sorry. And I don't want to smirch his Niners because I've already said enough goddamn things about Joe Montana on this pod. I don't want to continue doing this.
He's shrinking because of the electrical plant next door to the stadium. That's what's going on.
Hey, did you hear they hired like a private couple like scientists to go through and they confirmed that it has no impact, which is just funny that the Niners did that. They wanted to take some heat off the franchise.
Who was it? Bill Nye and Bill deGrasse Tyson and RFK.
It might have been Al Gore. They got Al Gore to do
that. Al Gore invented the internet.
Damn straight. Al Gore. Sometimes I make good jokes on the show. I want to talk about, I got a little distracted by my Al
By the way, thank you to Lord Gore for inventing the internet that we broadcast on. Bow to our Lord for inventing the platform that we... Yeah.
One last point about the Cardinals is in the floor comments is valid, but he's also going in, if he goes there, he's going into what I want to call a top 10 weapon group in terms of, we love Michael Wilson on this channel. Marvin Harrison has a high draft capital. He's still a better than average receiver, I think. And then Trey McBride's the second best tight end in football. So you have that infrastructure there. They got to improve the O-line. And, Tyler Allgeier's a fine running back. So they have guys that can...
Connor restructured his deal to stay there, so he's still there too. So it's Allgeier and Connor.
And we like the Jets pieces. I know, we're both higher on Adonai Mitchell than most. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, in my mind, is a top 10 NFL receiver in real life. I love Mason Taylor. Breece Hall.
He's going to be a top. Let me tell you something. He is going to be a top 3 tight end in the league. Watch. And Braylon Allen's great, as well as Breece Hall. So they've got a good tandem at running back. Their O-line is starting to progress. They're the only O-line that stayed together all 17 games. At least that's what the Jets love to keep pushing out on their social media because that's the only thing they have to brag about.
So let's tie a bow on this Ty Simpson conversation. I want to hear your ceiling and floor for draft spot, again, draft number, right? Third overall to 30th overall. I want to hear that. I'm guessing he's your number 2 quarterback, right? He's also my number 2, but he is closer to the number 3. Maybe not because I don't like my number 3, but he is not that close to Mendoza for me. So give me your lowest he can go and your highest he can go in the NFL draft.
I mean, the highest he could honestly go is 2 or 3. I mean, honestly, if the Jets or the Cardinals really feel that strongly about him, he could go that high. I wouldn't do it.
That would be a mistake, though. Nothing against him. That's the mistake because he is clearly, I feel, almost a whole full round in terms of prospect value worse than Mendoza. And we don't even like Mendoza.
In a real quarterback class, he's a second round pick.
He's 4. Right? Fourth quarterback, third quarterback.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Bo Nix was the
in a real
quarterback taken.
Yeah, that's true. In a real quarterback class, it's I'd put him above Bo Nix.
Really? Even though they're complete opposite players in terms of now, not age, because like I said, I mentioned earlier, it's so weird that Ty Simpson has no experience and he's 24, where Bo Nix was 25, right? Going to be 25, but he had all this experience. Jaden Daniels, similar situation. That's my only concern. I would take Bo Nix over him all day. I like Bo Nix coming out. I have some issues with him in the NFL, but he's a gamer, and the experience showed. It showed the first 2 years. Inconsistencies have showed too.
Ty Simpson's no experience is a little bit sneaky, though. Remember, he did sit in that system for a few years.
Is that
He
a
did get
good
to
thing though?
sit
That
and
means that
watch and learn.
he better have succeeded in Alabama, sitting for 2 years in that system. I'm saying I don't think that's a good thing. I can
True.
see it both ways. It's just not an automatic
Yeah.
like in the NFL is
No, it's
different.
not
You're
like like this is a
consuming
crapshoot.
NFL stuff's different.
This is a complete like Ty Simpson. Like this is why I say this is a day for detestable quarterback class. There are so many ways I could shit talk Ty Simpson to death here. The only reason I have to talk him up a little bit is because everybody's just wiping their ass with him while people are talking up Taylor Green like he's the best thing ever in comparison to Ty Simpson, which is just complete horseshit.
So what's your floor? What's the latest you can see him going? Is there any chance he falls out of the first round? Because when Aaron, I know it was a different situation with Alex Smith and Aaron Rodgers, but no one thought Aaron Rodgers was falling out of the top 10, and he fell to like the 20s, I believe.
Ever since the Giants traded up to get Jackson Dart, they're not going to let any team that actually wants Ty Simpson to actually play or start within the first year of him being there is going to trade into the first round to get him. They're not going to wait till round 2.
So it's like 23 overall. Is that the floor? Like
that's the latest
the Jackson
he goes.
Dart range? Okay.
Yeah, the Jackson Dart range is the latest he goes. The earliest he goes is 2 to the Jets because the Jets are monumentally stupid. And the latest he goes is like 23.